You should see the 1 minute 10 up. So give me a thumbs up when you're ready. 1 minute 10 up. Yeah, I'm hearing you got speakers open.
Every week we open wide the virtual stage where ideas spark and wisdom fills the page. From the UK to the land of maple trees, John and Mike bring clarity with ease. We're building meetings, webinars with might, helping you shine your message, taking flight. Whether you're new or you've done this before, Lord Zoom Live will help you do much more. We're building meetings, webinars with might, helping you shine your message, taking flight. Whether you're new or you've done this before, Lord Zoom Live will help you do much more. Thank you for joining us, we're glad you're here. Together we grow, it's loud and clear. On Zoom we connect, we learn, we grow. Welcome my friend, enjoy the show.
Greetings. Welcome to Lord Zoom Live. I have my developer's hat on today because we are looking at a piece of software developed by the guys at Zoom, but it's separate to Zoom. It's called the Graphics Toolkit. And it's quite a neat piece of kit. Still in beta, but it seems to be behaving quite well. So the first thing I probably need to do is tell you how it works, so you can understand the workflow. I did try and do a diagram, but I'm not very good at diagrams. So let me try and explain it in the simplest way that I can. The Graphics Toolkit is an app, almost like a bot, that you start up, and then you can connect it to your meeting or your event like we are today. And from there, it can listen in on certain information. And then it can take that information and put it on a screen for you. Now, this is where it gets a little bit tricky, because what it does is it puts data into a browser window. So you then have to bring your browser window somehow into Zoom. And the easiest way of doing that is to use some video mashup type software like vMix, OBS. There's lots of Mac apps as well. Because it's a browser window, you could effectively run it on any machine. Because it's a browser window, you could set it up on a separate machine and then just share the browser window through your network. So you could have this all running on one separate machine and then send the information to another computer, which could then mix it. When it's mixed, you can then produce it out in the video feed. So what I've done here is I'm talking to you directly into Zoom, but my camera, which you're looking at now, is going through vMix, and then vMix is sending it to Zoom. But I've also got the browser windows from the Toolkit, Graphics Toolkit, in that same video editor. So I can overlay them over my video. I hope that makes sense. Let's see if it does make sense. I should ask my friend Mike, who's with us. Mike, did that make sense? Did that sound like how you thought it worked? And welcome to the show. And
I'm here. There we go. All right, sorry.
Yeah, I'm sorry you muted yourself again as well. But you're just playing around now. Graphics Toolkit can't help me with this.
There you go. Did I do it?
Yeah,
Am I here?
you're still here.
All right, good. Hi, everybody. I found the button. Okay, cool. Hopefully John's going to find all the right buttons today with Graphic Toolkit. So did you say everything properly? Yes. So basically, if you want to rehash it one more time, as I understood it from John, we've got Graphics Toolkit running. John has brought in the information that Graphics Toolkit has given him into vMix. And now John's camera is also in vMix, as well as Graphic Toolkit's overlay. And that overlay, John will be showing us momentarily all the funkiness that Graphic Toolkit actually can do live for you for all your production needs. Should you be utilizing Zoom and you want to bring in all kinds of wonderful features that Zoom offers you. Did I rehash it properly, John?
That sounds good to me. That sounds good to me, indeed. So let's start with having a look at the Graphics Toolkit window, and then we'll play around with that, and then I'll show you, well, things will start to appear probably over my camera. So if we go to my Graphics Toolkit window, you can see this is my second screen, and this is the app that runs when you start Graphics Toolkit. Now, one thing I have done already is I've clicked on this meeting button. I think I can get away with clicking on it again. And you can see it gives me the chance to have it join a new meeting, start a new meeting, join a meeting, or run a Zoom events. So in this case, it's all grayed out because we're already in a meeting. But what I did was I clicked on Zoom events, and very neatly, guys, I like this. I like this a lot. It gave me a list of my events that I have and events that I'm subscribed to. Now, when I say I, who am I responding as? It's, well, the I in this case is me. I am the owner of this event. I have the license for Zoom events. Because I have a license for Zoom events, that gives me a license to use the Graphics Toolkit. So the Graphics Toolkit logs in as me, which is when you start to get a little bit confused at the beginning, because of course, you join the meeting yourself as you, and then you have to get a browser version of Zoom to join as you on behalf of the Graphics Toolkit. So I've put the Graphics Toolkit in a little corner of the screen down the bottom there, where hopefully it won't get in my way. So let's have a look at what the Graphics Toolkit has. If I click on the top on the Graphics Manager, these are the graphics which I've pulled together for showing you. And you simply make them by clicking on New Graphic, and then you get a choice of the different types of graphics that are available, and then you build it from there. So let's start with one that will be more fun than others. So let's have a look at this one. This is the emoji graphic. And if I activate it, you can see I get a lot of emojis appearing. But they're not appearing on me. They're only appearing in the browser window. By the way, this is simulation mode. I'm using most of them in simulation mode because we really don't want Mike and I and the audience all having to type stuff in weird times. So we've got it in simulation mode. You can see in that little window there that there are emojis flooding up the screen, but you can't see any emojis in front of me in my little window here. And that's because I haven't added that input to the mix-up that comes out of vMix. So if I add that overlay like that, now you can see I'm now flooded with all these emojis. Likewise, if I show you another one, which is easy to show, there's a captions one. And again, you can see the captions in the box right in front of you. But if I find the right overlay button to hit on my vMix, there you are, you can see the captions appearing there. So this is simulated captions, and of course it's not following what I say, but I could switch it over to being live captions, and we have a captions box. And for those that are saying it's a bit small, can you change the size of it? The answer is yes. All right. These are customizable in quite a lot of ways. Probably more ways than I can actually understand at the moment, but they are customizable. And as you can see on the left-hand side of the menu on the graphics dashboard, there is some documentation and some help in there as well. So let's turn off the simulated one for a moment. We have one here called questions. So we can add Q&A questions. And again, I've got it in simulation mode just to make it easy. You can see it flooding down the side. And again, I will just enable that so you can see this. Now, I could leave that enabled on my vMix program, and I could just turn the tab off on the graphics dashboard and it will disappear. So there are different options depending how you use this on how you could set it up to make it all work. I could have all these overlays all over me, but I can use the graphics dashboard to just enable the ones when I want to. So you've got both options of creating the data, whichever suits you. And as I said, it's possible to run this on a separate machine. So a separate person could be running this in a separate machine. And there's some good reasons why you might want that. You'll see that in a little moment. So the other things we can do is, I've got a whole load list here. So let's go at the bottom because I created them and they scrolled down. So by the way, you can, if you'd like the order, you can drag them as well. Just throw that in. That's really nice and neat. So we have Chat Basic here, which is just a simple chat, which I can overlay, and I've now lost which window that's going to be. But I've then got the fancy version, and I like the fancy version. I'm going to show you the fancy version rather than the main version. So the fancy version is I've mucked around with the layout. So the Chat Basic I'm going to turn off, but you couldn't see it anyhow. The fancy version, I've shown you some of the options. So you can see I've got a graphic behind me that I've put up there. I've mucked around with the size of the text. I haven't aligned it very well, but I've mucked around with the size of the text just to show you these things are open to you to change. And I'll show you how easy it is to do that in a second. Or I've got questions. I can have scrolling questions. So I'll put scrolling questions on and I'll turn off the other ones. So there's scrolling questions. Now, again, I could change around the design of this so that the scrolling questions don't just overload me. And I have chat scrolling, which works in the same way, but the chat scrolling works in the corner. So it's over there. But again, you can play around this and move this. I will show you in a second. Fortunately, the editor is pretty much the same for all of the graphics. Unfortunately, that is slightly confusing because some things don't apply in certain layouts because there's nothing there for them. So it is something to get to know, and I'm not an expert in it by any means yet, but the documentation is pretty standard for walking through things as far as I've seen so far. So that's the where were we? That's the chat scroll. Then we've got a poll example. So if I bring this onto my screen, you can see I've played around with it a bit to show you how you can come in. Now it's giving you the prompt to the poll, but it's not giving us the results. Well, it's not giving us the results for a really simple reason. We haven't run the poll yet. So there's no data for it to process. So if I launch the poll and then I get some of my bots here, this is where we need the bots. People, everybody who can vote, please vote, because I want to get some data out of this. Oh, and when you vote, like me, remember to hit the submit button. Okay, so I will end the poll. And if I now go to my poll editor, do I need to go to my poll editor? No, I don't. No, I don't need to go to my poll editor. If I go to I've lost my poll now. Oh, there it is. Okay, so I've got my poll on. I now need to go down here to poll manager. You can see it's already chosen the poll. And now I'm showing the question. I now want to show the results. So there are the results. And by fluke, I think it looks quite cute. I think it looks quite cool. What do you think, Mike?
Yeah, it looks pretty neat. But again, of course, it's something to customize down the road
Exactly.
if you want it to be more fancier.
Exactly. You've got the ability to customize this. And if you want to have different polls in colors, then all you need to do is just go into the graphics manager and define a whole set of graphics for your different colors of polls you want to run, and then you can run them. So obviously on the poll thing, we need to be able to control it because we need to be able to hide the question and the answers. So we can hide everything. Then we can select the poll, and then we can turn on the question. We'll get the people to give the answers, and then we can show the result. And that also is a principle that works for chat and questions as well. If I go into the chat manager, you can see there's my chat and there's all the messages that Mike's put into the chat as well. And I can highlight one of those, and that will be the one shown on the screen. So if I have a chat here that is not doing, so if I choose Chat Fancy, for instance, and I open the editor, and if you see in the bottom right hand corner here, there's a thing called preview data. So if I turn it back to live data, it will now show live information, which I select. And I should now, I don't think I need to hit a button. I think I can go to Chat Manager and I can highlight something. And let's turn the other one off from there. And I should be able to show that chat data. So if I turn Chat Fancy on, there it is. And if I enable that in my thing, there it is. Except of course I've made a graphic. I'll show you that graphic. I'll get rid of that graphic in a second so you see. So there we are. It's as easy as that. So let's try and break everything, because this is a beta version and you should always try and break a beta version. So let's try and do a better version of this graphic to show you what's possible. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to turn off the ones I have already so they don't get in the way. And we'll turn those off so I don't get in the way. And then we'll go and hit new graphic, and we'll do a chat one, unless anyone has any ideas of doing some others. Let's do a chat. So I want a chat highlight, so I can highlight a chat message and click next. I get given for this one, there's less options in some of the others, but I get given here a set of styles to start with. Which one shall we take, Mike?
Let's take which one have you shown us so far?
I think I've shown you one of the upper third ones and one of the lower third ones.
All right, then do the what is that? Light? Something
call out light. Okay.
Call out light. Sure.
So that's the template. You can save, once you've played around with these, you can save them as your own presets and then pull them back again. But I haven't done that. I haven't got any presets yet. So I will choose that one as my selection to start with, and I will hit create. And the first thing I've did is I forgot to give it a name. So we'll call this Mike's test.
And as John's typing, of course, I'll be to blame if it doesn't work. Continue.
Yep. So we hit create. All right, and there it is. And there it is as the default. Okay, does that make sense, Mike? It's your test.
Absolutely.
Terrific. So there it is working, and we can choose live data or simulated data to test it. If we choose live data, which we are at the moment, it's going to pull up whatever I've highlighted on here, on the list in the chat manager. So if we go back to the graphics again, and we go back into Mic Test again, there's the URL. So I'll have to give that at some point to my vMix program. So my vMix program can then overlay it on me, but you can see it on this layout here. And this is where things get this is where people might get a bit scared, because there are two tabs here which would scare the bejesus out of many people, because this is HTML and CSS, because these are being built like a web page. So you can use style sheets and you can use layouts to make them work. And if you want to edit those and you know what you're doing, great. There's also this design config, which defines the data, which again, if you understand that, you'll love that. For those of you that find that really scary, like me in the middle of a demo, not wanting to break everything too much, there is also this button here for a style designer. Now this has a whole set of little tabs here for stylizing the box. And some of them are obvious and some of them are not obvious, but then it would help if I had read the manual, which I haven't done. If I read the manual, I might understand these more. But you can very quickly notice some of the things, like, so this is the display name, and it shows positioning and styling. So you can immediately see there's a font style there. So we're probably going to cause lots of trouble. There we are. Look, we can change the style. So maybe we want to make the name larger. Maybe that's a bit too large. Let's put an actual number in. So let's make it 40. So it's more seeable. All right, and we can change the weight of the font, so we can make it a bit bolder. We could even change the font for sans serif so it's easier to read. And we could even make it italic if we want. And then, do we want to do anything with the avatar? Probably not, because every time I've tried to play with this, I've made it look really silly. So maybe we don't want to play with the avatar. But that would be that little icon there. And then we've got another text here, which I think is for the text below. No, it's the text of the avatar. No, it's not. There was a funny thing on some of these where I found that I had to hit yes to get things to work. Now that's not the one I wanted. It's the quote container, I think, is the one I want. So I will change the color. Oh no, don't change it to that color, it will disappear. So click OK. And again, you see, this is where I mean that some of the bits don't seem to work, because there's settings. I'm trying to remember. Oh, message content. That's what I want. That's the bit I want. That's where I get to change the size of the text underneath. And that's where I get to do other things like I could change the spacing. So I could make it bigger, the spacing. This drag and drop thing this dragging lines thing's quite fun to start with, but sometimes it starts to get makes things really silly. So I can make it bigger. Again, I've got the chance to change the font of the message content. And there's a whole load of border styling and shadow. You might not notice it. You probably will notice it when I go live in a second. I think there is a slight shadow on this box. And I've got my little tab control in the way, so I'll move that over. So I could change the offset for the shadow. And I think it's fair to say, very politely, that there are probably more options in this box than most people are really ever going to want to look at. But they are there if you want to take it a long way. So you've got your graphics to style, and I wouldn't use the other options unless you're an HTML designer. I would use these, and you can play around with the settings until you get it right. So let me show you how you then use those. So I can click on this link and it will open a browser window. And there's so you see I'm played around with the shadow. You can see how the shadow is sitting there. So this is the browser window that I would now copy into my vMix in this case. Other systems are available. So if I make that a web browser window that I can then bring into my design, I can then activate that, and there it is. So what words get seen? Well, again, you have to remember that when you go back to the chat manager, because we deal with chat, whatever chat I highlight will be replaced. Oh, and by the way, you can change the speed of that going up and down as well, because it looks more like a hiccup than a prompt at the moment. But yeah, I have changed the speed of that before on the other ones, so I know you can do that. And that's, dare I say, all there is to it. Dare I say that? No, I don't dare, because there is a couple of extra things, and I think this is new for the latest version. So there is now a system of external moderation, and I know this has been asked for by a lot of people because it's something that comes up really commonly when you start dealing with Q&A and chat. So there is an option in the app. If we could bring up the app, please, Mike. So there's a system here called external moderation, and it gives you a link, and that means you could have somebody else sifting through the content and being able to highlight them, favorite them, and actually add some more moderation control to them. I believe this is for chats, and I think it's coming for polls because it says down the bottom, poll moderation coming soon. So I'm pretty sure that poll moderation is not available yet because they've told me it's coming soon, but there is these options for the moderation of the chat. And I like that because that gives you the chance to have another person. It's quite easy when there's 10, 20, 30, 50 people to monitor the chat. But when 50 people start getting busy on the chat messages, or when a few hundred people get busy on the chat messages, you need somebody just dedicated to controlling those messages. Because if they're not controlled, then this chat manager is really cool. It's really good. But if you're getting dozens a second of chat messages popping up on here, it gets almost impossible to be able to select the right ones and the interesting ones. See, I can favorite some here, and they appear on this side here. So you can see how I've gone from chat messages to side messages, which makes it easier for people to manage them. But if this main set of messages just fills up too quickly, you'd never be able to do it. And that's why the next level down of moderation would filter out some and make it easier to organize. In fact, I believe that the moderation can even go in and yeah, so there it is. So this is the moderation screen. So the moderation can highlight people. It can favorite them. It can delete them if you don't want them there, and it can hide them from the list if you just want to hide them away from the admin or the user at the other end who's sorting them all out. I think that, and as I said, questions is coming soon, but chat is already there, and I'm quite impressed with this. I think it's a good looking product, and I would probably dare to actually use some of this. My biggest problem at the moment would probably be I need to understand maybe how the editor works so that I can customize this content and brand it a bit better. But I think it's looking good. Mike, what's your view? Does it sound good? Does it look good?
Does it look good? Does it sound good? Well, it looks good. Yeah. You've been sounding good. But yeah, it looks great. Again, you're just using, again, if you're not happy with the results that you're seeing with John and I right now, as far as the actual physical graphics right now, those are the templates that ship with it. So now it is up to you, as John showed you before. Maybe John, would you want to spend maybe a little bit of time on the tweakability? Tweakability?
Well, I
Yes.
can to a degree, but not in great detail because I haven't learned this well enough to be able to just depart everything as if I know every single button because I don't. But the principle is really neat because you create these graphics and then somewhere, where is it? Yeah, there it is. So you can export the graphic and then you can load and you can then take that somewhere else and then you can load a new graphic in from your drive. And the other thing you can do is if you're going to add other graphics, so let's really muck up the mic test one with something that I do know I can do and make a mess, and that is this background thing. I found. No, I didn't read the manual. I'm sorry, guys. Reading manuals is not something I do. It wants to be intuitive, or I'm really. If I need to read the manual, that's probably to me means that things are going wrong. I can do read manuals sometimes. But one of the nice things here about the background thing is I can, now I just played around with this and I looked for CS image and I then found that I could pull up an image. So this is an image I've loaded up. I'm going to show you how I got it there in a second. And there we are, that's now background. So of course that's now going to mean when I bring it onto my screen, I'm stuck behind that. But it does mean that I've got, you can put a color here, you can put a graphic here, and you have a thing here called the asset library. And this is where you have, and these came in from Zoom guys. Zoom guys put these in for me. I didn't do these, but I did load that graphic in. So I can create a list of files that I want to use. And then I can go into the graphics manager when I'm playing around on the editor. And I have the ability to insert the graphics as well. Probably not as flexible as you'd like, but if you want it to be flexible, that's why there is the ability to completely rewrite the CSS and the styling here. This is just a web page. This is just web page code. I mean, it may even be possible for you to paste these into a chat GPT type device and get it. And if you wanted something set specifically, it could probably edit the content to do that for you. This is the coming in and out thing. I said, you know, they were coming in, the thing was coming in and out too quickly. So this is where you can set the speed of the graphic when it comes up and down. So if I go to simulated data, can you see how now that's slowed down horrendously? But that was just so that you could see. And of course, it's now come back with the stupid size graphics, which I've given it. Hey, that's even more clever. Look, I managed to make one look good and one look bad at the same time. I'm quite impressed with that. How I managed to make one look good and one broken. There you see, you never know what you can break when you play around with these things. So if I want to get rid of this and see myself again, I can change it to that, and then I could change the color.
I think you have to make it yourself, the background transparent now, John, because right now you're officially classified as it's black right now.
There we are, transparent.
Transparent.
Yeah, we can all see through me. I'm not sure how I managed to get one to be one style and one to be the other, but that's, I mean, that's just clever. Well, that's definitely wrong. This is the shadows. Then we've got the quote container. The easiest way to see if something's right is just turn it off. But there does seem to be some slight inconsistency of when. Now, I don't know, does that mean the other one's going to be blank now? Ah, you see, look, I fixed it. There we are. That's always a good start, isn't it? Yeah, so it's the quote container, the one that I've broken. Oh, there we are. Look, the font size of 179. That's probably a little bit big. Let's try something like that. There we are. So as I said, it's very neat. So the quote container is when they are, I think has got to do with threaded comments. So they're replying to something. So the quote is the reply. This is the thing you have to learn, what the containers are and what they're for. So the quote container is about a reply to somebody. That's why one looked weird and one looked fine. Now I've corrected it. It now makes more sense. And you can see that I've moved this over a bit and I've squashed the logo. So one of these was probably wrong. That would be down here. That's the message container. So I don't want to change that. Yeah, that makes changes things there. I don't know the controls of all these well enough to be able to explain every single box yet, but I've only spent about an hour playing with this. It probably will take a bit longer. I know that when they conceived of this, they did conceive that they would perhaps have a bigger library of designs for the final version. Or maybe somebody who's in a design background could create some designs for Graphics Toolkit and make them available to other people. Don't know how that's going to develop. I might make some designs of my own, and then maybe I'll make them available to my cohorts. But the boxes here seem to be the same, or seem to be very, very similar, independent of what you're editing. So I suppose that's on purpose to make things easier to control. But it then means you need to learn what they are. So you can see that the settings for this question scroll is still the same sort of types of questions about tops and bottoms and font styles as the others. But exactly what each button does, I'm still waiting to learn that. Of course, I could just look at the documentation, which is quite good, but I didn't rely on it completely because I don't know how up to date this is at the moment. This is certainly correct. This main overview is quite correct. So that's exactly what you see at the beginning. You have to sign in, as I said, you have to sign into your machine. And then you have to be told by the system, do you want to give it permission? You give it permission, and then it logs in. And that's when you get to this screenshot here, which is actually hiding underneath there. There it is. And then you click on this open the web interface, and that allows you then to come up to this screen here, which we're in now. And you need to be the host of the events platform you're in because it's licensed that way. There is a graphics guide here which goes into lots of detail about how you set things up, but I would only suggest you read the bits that you want to do. If you don't want to go to the big level of writing the CSS, then frankly I wouldn't learn that bit. You can do a lot of the major setups just by using those two options. So if you open the editor and you use this style designer, you can do most of the major things like moving boxes around and changing the size of boxes and the padding in boxes and the colors of boxes and the cut and the size of text, etc. You can do most of that just using these options. So these cover it really well. But if you want to go to a greater degree, then this is the bit for the animations, which is fine. And then you're into the CSS and the HTML and all the designing stuff. That's as far, Mike, as I'm going to go, or as deep as I'm going to go within this. There are some global variables, by the way, which are a good way of cheating. So you can just change the main primary color, and then that will affect all the graphics. So that's quite a good way of doing things. But otherwise, most people will have something designed for them, and then all they're going to be doing is highlighting and unhighlighting text. And you can see as I do that, the messages are for me are changing as I go. And then when I've had enough, if I want to get rid of my favorites, I can click clear favorites, and then I can create another set of favorites, or somebody else can moderate for me, and I can just go through the questions and ask the questions. And as we said, the one other thing we can do, and we can do this because I've got some people here, is we can do a poll. And the poll again, I just enable the poll, and then I can choose what I want, a bar chart or a pie chart, and I can show the question and I can show you the data. So I can show the question. I just need to bring that onto my system, so let me show you that. So let's go back to Graphics Manager. I need to enable the question, which is that one. And now I want, yes, poll, and then I show that and show that, then that would appear on, let's turn that one off. That will appear on here, and I can pull up the link there to see it. So it's not showing, so I've done something wrong. I've probably broken it all, haven't I? Let's have a look. Live data. Let's just see if simulated data works. Simulated data works. So I haven't chosen the question then. Live data, poll example, poll manager. It says it's off air. There we are. That should be seen now. No. I've broken it. There we are. You see, I knew I could break it eventually if I tried hard enough. But it did work the first time until I broke it. Before I started playing around, you all saw it. Please raise your right hand and say after me. I did see it, John.
I did see it, John.
Okay. Well, if you believe, say you believe. I believe. I believe. I believe. I believe.
I believe.
Wow. Well, just amazing. Wow. You see the power of thought, and there it is. Yeah. So what didn't I do? I hadn't enabled it on the mixer. So I hadn't mixed the video signal in. Although so look, it's there as well. So there it is. And it's on the screen as well. So there we are. You see, it might have been broken, but we did get it working again. I'm worried if I'm going to do something. So we've got bar chart and a pie chart. There we are. There's a pie chart as well.
Ooh.
And again, you can color it. Is anyone gonna say how impressed they are that the red is red and the blue is blue and the green is green and the black is mauve? Because I mean, I don't know if that's by design now or they're even more clever than I thought. I got a feeling it's by, well, I don't know now. I think they may have just, well, that's spooky. That's spooky that the colors are all in the right order. I don't know what to say about that. Apart from, there are the results. He says, trying to work out which way he needs to go. There are the results. All waiting for you. So, would I use this in an event? Yeah. Would I use this in an event where it was 110% important to show off the right results? Yeah. Because this either shows the right results or it doesn't work. If it fails, it will just not display anything, like when we got it all wrong here. And as I'm using chat and I'm using polls, I've still got the standard options from Zoom itself of displaying these results and showing these results to you. So I can still hear the share results button and everybody's screen gets the results appearing on their screen. And I can drag that over here. I don't think I can drag it over here for you to see because I don't think I've got my window to enable Zoom. But I've got the ability to make that data available to the audience.
I can vouch I saw it, John.
Okay, that's good enough for me. So if we are going to use this and we're worried it's not going to work, it's just not going to work. But there are alternatives to, if it doesn't work, to get the data and call up the data. But I think this is stable, I think is a technical word we quite often use. I'm more to the view that the hiccups we've had through his presentation are me not just not using it enough to be familiar with it and have a process for bringing it on the system. And in a perfect world, of course, the speaker wouldn't be the person running the graphics at the same time. You'd have somebody else doing it. But as I learned it, I couldn't really say, "Yeah, Mike, it's all yours now." That wouldn't be fair. Been fun, but it wouldn't have been fair. But I think this is a neat product. Thank you, Zoom. It's well worth having a look at. I can see lots of places where this will be useful. I can see cunning ways that I could use this further than just what we've looked at now. For instance, it mentions in the documentation, yes, I have read documentation through, skimmed it through. Documentation did say at one point that you could make information available to the panelists and not the audience. And I can see that I could use these overlays on a panelist video who's not live through Production Studio, so isn't seen by you, the audience, that Mike's focusing in on, but would be able to be seen by all the other panelists. So they could see that and they could refer to that information. We also, by design, and then realized it worked quite well, the person, the Zoom toolkit is actually running in the event, but is actually sitting backstage. So the app that is, or the person that is the app is actually backstage. So they're not in the way of Mike and I on the virtual stage for producing things and bringing people up. And the reason they can be there is because they can see all the chats and the polls from backstage, because we all can. That's something that's standard in Zoom. So it's picking up all the chats and the polls data while being backstage. But when it wants to share things, it's sharing it via a browser window. And I'm on stage and I'm picking up that browser window and then showing it to you, the audience. So again, that is quite easy, and that does make it easier for management because you haven't got this other character which you need to rename to whatever you want it to be on the virtual stage with you. You can leave them backstage, out the way, and then you just collect the data and produce the data as overlays. But in summary, this is the Zoom Graphics Toolkit. It's still version 0.33. I don't really know why that version number is of any meaning to anybody. I don't think it is. It's just in beta. They haven't released it yet. They're still adding a few extra things, but I think for what it does today, it is quite usable. It, out of the box, looks quite good. I mean, this poll question thing, I don't think I played around much with this, and I think this looks amazing. There are other apps out there that can do similar things, but this one you get with your Zoom Events license. So there's no extra charge for using this. You can use it within your Zoom events license. You can use it in meetings, or you can use it in events. It doesn't matter. You can save your designs once you've got them working, so you can use them again and again. I love it. I will probably use it whenever I have a need. And that is the end of my discourse. So I'm going to pass over to Mike to see what his summary is of this little app.
Well, as John knows, I've been playing with the app as well on my end. I haven't actually played with the latest beta version yet, but I've seen the capabilities of what can be done. And again, too, based on that, John, again, we have to clarify for everybody that this is only will function in what licenses for our viewers. Will this work
Yeah.
in meetings?
This works in meetings, but you need an events or Webinar Plus license to be able to use it.
Right. So this would work in meetings, Webinar Plus. I guess it would also work in webinar.
It works in all of them. So it works in a webinar or a meeting. But you must have the license to use it first. So I have an events license under this account. So as an events license, I can log in and use it. But
Right.
I could
And
have
as
used
a
it.
host,
I could have used it as in a meeting. I could have gone into a meeting. So you could have had a meeting and you could have invited me into a meeting and I could have brought this license along with me and I could have run it in your meeting.
right. So you don't have to be host,
You don't have to be host,
but
you
you
do have to be,
an event hub owner.
yes. And I think you have to be co-host. I think you will need to be co-host to see the polls.
Right. And that's a Zoom limitation, not
That's
not
because
the
you
graphic
don't see,
toolkit.
yeah, you don't see the polls unless you're you don't see the polls when they're running unless you're a co-host. So I assume that you need to be a co-host to be able to access the information as the graphics toolkit. But you don't have to be the owner of the meeting and it doesn't have to be your meeting to have access to that information.
Right. And the other scenario of that too is that so you could actually join my meeting. And on top of that too, I don't have to be host, but I do have to be an event hub owner of a license. As long as I am that, then I could actually delegate that out to, as long as I attend the meeting, that Zoom Graphics Toolkit officially can be used by myself or now with the newest version, a moderator. Did I do that right?
Well, you need to have the license to use it. And you need to join the meeting and it needs to join the meeting as you because it inherits your I don't know what you call it, your credentials, shall we say? And then you've got the settings for it all, which you can then set up. You can give the URL to somebody else if they want to moderate it. You could give the URL of the browser to somebody else so they could then put it on the screen.
Right. So it could be on a certain panelist, or you could actually have it given it to each individual panelist so that the graphic will continue with all of them.
Yeah.
As long as they got their capabilities at their end.
Yep. Yeah. If they've got a simple program between their camera and Zoom, whether it be OBS, vMix, or any of the Apple versions. I've only run this on Windows, but this works on Apple as well. So you can run it on a Mac. As long as they have a way to put a browser on their screen in front of them, then this will work on their system.
Yeah, a browser in front of them transparently. Because it's a transparent layer.
Yeah, the browser is mostly transparent, but as you can see from this one I've got on me now, you can use, I'm using a gradient effectively here, or the system is using a gradient. So it's blue over here, and then it fades
Right.
away to nothing, and that's how it has this sort of ghostly effect. But yeah,
Right. But again, it's still on top of you.
it's overlaid on me, yeah. And that's it. That's all there is to it. It's well done.
Yeah. So let us know in the comments section if the graphic toolkit is something that you could actually see yourself using. And if you'd actually like us to get in more depth with it, let us know in the comment section below, and we'll be able to feed from that. And you could actually see us talk a bit more about this in depth in the future, especially when it gets released, John.
Yes, I don't know what the release rules are. So I don't know at what point they are going to say this is no longer a beta. But it is usable already but I think they're calling it a beta because they haven't finished adding the extra bits and bells and whistles that they want to the app. But they are encouraging people to play with it, because if we don't play with it, we're not going to find out whether it works as they intended it, but also whether it works in the environment when we use it, because it may. So far, I've found that it's really quite neat to use, and I can see this working in a number of different workflows quite easily. But if people don't have a play with it and see what it's like, then we won't find if there's any procedural problems with playing around with it or with using it in various ways. So if you have a chance to play with it and you've got the license to play with it, give it a go, see what you think, see if it's useful. Doesn't mean you don't have to use all the features. If you just use one or two features, find if it works for you. It'd be great feedback for the guys designing it.
Yeah, absolutely. And on top of that too, John, so there is a couple of features that they said were coming soon, right?
There is a moderation. Moderation is quite new. That's why I haven't played around with all these options yet, because this is quite new. But there is supposedly a poll moderation still to come. So we've got chat moderation and we've got question moderation. We haven't yet got poll moderation, but that is a feature.
That's got something to do about. I'm wondering if that's got something to do with the host co-host situation.
I don't know. I don't know. They haven't made it yet because they've got coming soon here, so they obviously haven't programmed it yet, but they're intending to do so.
Right. So chances are that'll be in the next beta, if not a few betas coming soon before they'll actually release it as a maybe 1.0.
Could be. I've got no idea. I have no release notes. I can't find any release notes or any what's it notes about this. But if I said his work name 3 times, I don't know if he would turn up and give us an answer. But it's good enough where it is now to be used. And if you want to learn how, even if some of the bits are not perfect and you don't want to use it live, there's no reason why you can't take it now and have a look at the customizing of the images and get it customized so it looks good for you. There's no reason why you couldn't do that now. That I'm aware of, but it's a neat product.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, it has a lot of promise to it.
Well, thank you very much, everybody, then, for watching this. Thank you, Mike, for coming here to support me on this one and putting your little comments in so that we can pull them up on the chat.
Yeah, and keeping up with you as you keep flipping between this, and we're going to go over here and show you that and this and that.
Yeah, it's a bit of a jump around, this one. But as you can see, the greens and the reds have got a dead heat. So that's always the best outcome in a competition. Thank you for coming, everybody, and see you on the next show. Lord Zoom Live is always every Tuesday. And other shows, just go to lordzoomevents.com and you can see what we're coming up with.
Take care, everyone. Have a great week. See you next week.
Every week we open wide the virtual stage where ideas spark and wisdom fills the page. From the UK to the land of maple trees, John and Mike bring clarity with ease. We're building meetings, webinars with might, helping you shine your message, taking flight. Whether you're new or you've done this before, Lord Zoom Live will help you do much more. We're building meetings, webinars with might, helping you shine your message, taking flight. Whether you're new or you've done this before, Lord Zoom Live will help you do much more. Thank you for joining us, we're glad you're here. Together we grow, it's loud and clear. On Zoom we connect, we learn, we grow. Welcome my friend, enjoy the show. From big events to breakout rooms with flair, we've got the tools and we're ready to share. Guest experts drop in, bringing gold each time, with insights and tricks to help you climb. Can't make it live, we've got you still. On YouTube and LinkedIn, we're giving that thrill. So tune in later or catch us next round. Either way, your success is where we're bound. Thank you for joining us, we're glad you're here. Together we grow, it's loud and clear. On Zoom we connect, we learn, we glow. Welcome my friend, enjoy the show. And make it live, we've got you still. On YouTube and LinkedIn, we're giving that thrill. So tune in later or catch us next round. Either way, your success is where we're bound. Now take the spotlight, the stage is yours. Bring your message through virtual doors. Each week we gather, and now you know you're not alone, so let it flow. Thank you for joining us, now go and shine. Share what you've learned, your voice, your time. With Lord Zoom Live, your power will grow. It's time to build your own show.